Hi, drivers. Hey, welcome. It is our number one SiriusXM's Road Dog Trucking News. Thanks for being out there, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for being here at the Mid-America Trucking Show in the beautiful city of Louisville. How do you pronounce it, Tim Aschoff?
Well, I think on April Fool's Day, you can pronounce it however you want. Because if you're not correct, you just say April Fool's.
Absolutely, April Fool. How are you, sir? It's good to see you.
Doing well. It's great to be here. It's a good buzz in the air here this year. It's nice to have some positive feeling here.
Well, drivers, I've got Tim Aschoff. Of course, he is the Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer for Crete Carrier Corporation, the President of Shaper Trucking. And, man, it's good to have you on the radio with us again. And, drivers, what we're going to be doing here during the course of the program is we're going to be talking to Tim about what's going on with different things in the industry, talking about, the latest buzz, the technology that's out there, a lot of good stuff that's happening out there in the trucking industry today, Tim. And I know that you guys are very busy. You have a booth set up here at the Mid-America. What are you hearing from drivers?
Well, I think we're hearing from drivers that it's been a long 7, 8, 9 years in the industry, and it is feeling better. I mean, I think we're going through a time now where you get some seasonal dip in freight in January and February, but hey, it's spring. And I think things are getting more and more positive every day, and that's just again the feel on the floor around here with the drivers, with everybody, just seems to be really bright compared to maybe a few years ago when you'd come to places like this.
No, absolutely. So man, we had the Great Recession back in 2008. Things are going off the track, if you will, but things are indeed getting better, and I think this is creating more opportunities for a lot of drivers out there, and I think that is one of the critical elements. And the trucking industry stepping up. I mean, they're meeting drivers' needs. They're talking to the drivers about what's important to them. What are you hearing from your guys?
Yeah, absolutely. We have to evolve. Times change with everything. I mean, you just walk around the floor here, and we talked about that a little bit before the show. About there's so many different things here, but but there's still the core there, the core of what we do in trucking, the core of what a driver has to do, and technology has come a long ways to help the driver, to help them stay better connected with home, to help them stay better connected with us, to help them have a better quality of life. And so I think companies are embracing that, and drivers are embracing that, and we're pushing each other. And we're pushing each other to say, how do we make everything better for the driver, for our customers, for the company, and that ultimately makes it better for America.
Well, and what's really great, you mentioned, each side is pushing each other, so to speak, and it's all to drive home excellence, right? I mean, everybody's working on the same page.
Absolutely. I mean, we have to talk about continuous improvement. That's kind of the business buzzword out there, but it really is. I mean, it's how do we do things where we stay true to our core, providing good quality service, having a good quality job for a driver, but still look where can we improve? And we're not always going to be bleeding edge out there, doing some of the far out things that may look like a fad of the day or have those type of things. But but we do have to evolve and advance, and certainly do that with our drivers.
And I think what's really going to move this forward, is the technology. And you were mentioning some of this just prior to us going on the air. You were talking about some really space-age stuff here. When you think about the things that are designed to keep the drivers safe, for example, like technology that can now maybe cut through fog and can see ahead for the driver, helping make them safer out there on the road. Talk about that technology.
Yeah, technology's made great improvement. First of all, we know that safety does begin with the driver. Having a good quality driver and a good quality job, a happy driver, obviously is very important. But there are a lot of tools you can give the driver, and technology has given us a lot of options for tools. And we've really been adopting some technology since really about 07, 08. Some forward collision avoidance technology, the Meritor Wabco on-guard system, and that system has really evolved greatly. I know they have a booth here too, but did a demonstration with them about a month ago, and their technology now, with the radar technology, is able to even stop or at least slow down a truck on fixed objects, and it's amazing how they do that. I mean, the radar technology they have now, where it reads the object, it reads the shape of the object, the moisture content of an object, so it's not giving the false positives like in the past that maybe didn't make those systems quite as effective because they're more of a driver nuisance. We have to work together. Again, we have to push each other, as I talked about before. So the technology that we look at has to be something that will be a positive for the driver. It will be helpful for them, not only from a safety standpoint, but from a quality of jobs.
Well, and the quality of jobs, I mean, that again drives the success, right? I mean, somebody that's doing the job well, that also improves the performance, translation, it's a win on the bottom line.
It is. I mean, it's kind of that circle of life, so to speak.
Sure.
I mean, if you have a good quality job with a good quality driver, they tend to do better.
Yep.
They do better out there as far as productivity and miles. They do better in safety. They do better in home time because things get on a cycle and they get on a positive cycle, and that's really what we try to achieve with our drivers every day. Is how do we keep them going on that positive cycle?
What are you hearing from the drivers about some of the regulations that are out there? A lot of drivers are hearing about the the electronic logging devices, the mandate that's coming down. I know you guys have those on board. What is the current situation with the drivers? Are most saying, okay, I am going to try it, and once they do, it's like, okay, I'm not going back?
Well, for us, since we have had electronic logs for so many years, it is, it isn't something that's unusual for our drivers, the drivers that are coming to us. I think the biggest thing about it, and really working with drivers, and particularly drivers that haven't had electronic logs and are coming to a company like us that have them, is time management.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think what we've learned in having electronic logs for many years is that, again, if we work together, we can really provide a good, productive runs for drivers under the hours of service with e-log compliance, because we have more information now about the driver, about the time they have left on their clock, by how many hours they have left on their 70, those types of things, where we can match them up with a load that allows them to run safe and legal as many miles that they could when they didn't have electronic logs. So I think that's the conversations that we're trying to have with drivers, and to show them that electronic logs can be a very positive thing for them too, and helping their time management.
And when you mention the electronic logs and the drivers understanding the complexities of those, what about those in the front office? Do they understand the complexities of the ELDs? I mean, one of the things I hear from some of the drivers out there is that they're under the electronic logging devices out there, but maybe dispatch or the driver manager has got some other things that need to be done out there. What are you hearing from that standpoint?
I think it's an absolute must that the back office must understand the information, what it means, how to use it, because that's where you get the teamwork.
Yeah.
If you're not on the same page with the driver about the hours of service they have available, what they can do, you're not going to work together as a team. Provide them the loads that they can pick up and deliver within their hours that they have available. Also understanding other impacts that come into that. I think we always say it's very important for our team to understand the environment that the driver is going to be in. I mean, it's one thing to know the hours a driver may have. It's another thing to know that the driver may be picking up on the southeast side of Atlanta,
right?
And the route's going to take him through Atlanta and hit in Tennessee or otherwise.
Right.
That just because he may have hours and you multiply, or divide the miles by 50 or 55, he's not going to go 50 and 55 through Atlanta. So they really have to understand, even just beyond the hours, what environment the driver's in to make that a good team.
I think what's really also critical, too, is that communication teamwork goes beyond, simply just the driver and, say, the fleet manager or the dispatcher. I mean, that goes all the way up to your office. I mean, the communication door is open. Drivers can come in, and, man, that's got to be huge. I mean, because to have that kind of teamwork and support, knowing that somebody in the carpeted office is going to listen, makes it a winning play.
Yeah, absolutely. We're one team, and we only understand how the whole team's doing if we are able to talk to all of the team members. And that's something very important with us. And I spend generally 1 week a month out doing driver meetings because they can't all come to Lincoln and see and walk in the office, as you mentioned.
Right.
Last week I was at our Columbus, Ohio facility and our Indianapolis, Indiana facility having driver meetings. And the driver meetings are great. We'll have a couple hours there, but what I find just as valuable is it's the 2 hours before where I have those individual conversations with drivers.
Absolutely.
And then the 2 hours afterwards where they all want to continue to have some conversations.
Sure.
And take that office to the road, so to speak, as you mentioned, and really get a good firsthand feel for what are they facing out there, what are the challenges, and again, we can. A driver can sit in their truck all day and they have their view of what's going on.
Sure.
And, we sit in the office and we have our view. If we don't get together and blend those two views, we're not going to be successful for each other.
I found one of the most interesting stories several months back. This was like very close to the holiday season. I think it was like Christmas Eve or like maybe the day before, and you were out with one of the drivers, and you were actually at a shipper.
I was, yeah.
And I did an interview with you about that. I mean, I think it was fascinating perspective because, you are in charge of the organization. I mean, and you deal with these shippers, and, you've got a great sense of what the drivers are going through, what they're having to run across, and what the complexities they've got to deal with out there. Talk about that because, man, I think that speaks volumes about the intention of the company to stand behind the drivers.
Right. Well, I had a very practical need. I needed to get from Cincinnati up to the Indianapolis area.
Sure.
And what better way than to hitch a ride with one of our drivers?
Was that Christmas, if I remember?
It was between Christmas and New Year's.
Okay.
So, I got out there and got on with the driver. And again, that was allowed me to get in the cab.
Yep.
So I could get the drivers in my office. I needed to get in their office and see what they faced. And timing worked out where I missed my meeting in Indianapolis, and it was later in the evening, and the driver had a delivery, so I said, let me go along. And the great thing about this delivery is we went to a place where it was to a customer we have, and I know I've talked to them, and then they're proud of this facility. It's ConAgra Foods, where they actually built a new facility north of Indianapolis, and they came to us, and they came to our drivers and said, what can we do to make our facility one of the best in class, a place where drivers want to come?
Yep.
And so I wanted to see it. I wanted to see the outcome, and it was great. I mean, it was great to get through. You hear the stories about, how long does it take to even get through the guard shack, and then, are they going to
guard even there?
Is the guard even there? Right. So to have that experience firsthand and to know what drivers go through was very important, for me to see. But at the same time, to also then go back to that customer and validate that, yes, what you did was important, and the drivers recognized that. And I told them, which was true, when I left, we did a drop and hook, and we were in and out of there in less than 30 minutes.
Oh, goodness.
Scale on site.
Wow,
so
very
we
good.
scaled, we did everything.
Right.
So it went very smooth, just how we wanted to. The driver had been in that facility a number of times. We didn't get much time to go in and use the driver amenities because we were ready to
get going.
But he told me as we left is that, I really want you to work hard to keep that customer, because this is a customer that's friendly to us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where customers can see they do get value for that investment, because, that's one of our drivers saying, go out and do what you can to keep that customer, because it's good business, it's driver friendly.
Yeah, no, and I think that's one of the critical elements, because, you've got to have those customers that are going to be responsive to the driver's needs, but taking the lead as the president COO, I mean, this was huge from the standpoint you actually did it. You got out there and you wanted to see what those drivers are going through out there. I'll bet you got a lot of great feedback from the drivers. I saw the responses on Facebook.
Yeah,
and they were very positive.
I did, and it's just something I need to do regularly. In fact, this morning before I came here, we have another customer just down the road in Buckner, Kentucky. I went and visited our drivers there. We do some dedicated operations there, and got to see and feel what they're doing, how it's going for them. So it was a great experience. And the other thing we're doing is we're making sure it's beyond me that gets that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Our operations team and all of our locations where we have it, but particularly in Lincoln, we have a program that gets our driver managers out with the driver. We don't.
What a great perspective.
Practically, we're not able to get too far from Lincoln because we have to get them back there. But when they can come through and they may have delivery within 40 or 50 miles, we have them pick up their driver manager, take them on that delivery, see what it's like for them as well, and then bring them back. Not only does the driver manager get to experience that delivery, but they get time with the driver.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's where I think we make great connections.
Yeah, they get to know them as a person. Yes. I mean, and I think that communication dialogue is absolutely essential. I mean, to have that relationship, everybody's on the same page, makes for a very effective business communication plan.
You think we talk about technology and the advancement that
right.
communication should be easier.
Absolutely.
But sometimes we're still not the greatest. And, we have to recognize that and admit, we're not perfect. And what do we need to do to get better? And that's what I always try to tell our drivers is, look, we're trying to do the best we can. We're not perfect.
Right.
We need to know where we need to improve. Improvement doesn't always happen overnight.
Right.
You have to work with us. You have to have patience. And we have to do the same with them.
All right. I got a break here. And when we come back, I want to ask you about some of the challenges going forward for the rest of this year. What do you see as some of the biggest concerns for the trucking industry? Obviously, the driver shortage is huge. I mean, that is a big problem out there. But where do you see some of the things that might pop up on a radar screen that might slow down the communication process? Or where do you see things slowing down as far as the economy is concerned?
Back to Road Dog Trucking News with Mark Willis.
All right, drivers, hey, welcome to the program, and thank you for being out there, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be listening to the sound of my dulcet tones across North America. The phone number to call in, it's 888-876-2336. And if you want to step up right here to the microphone, I've got Mr. Tim Aschoff with Crete and Schaefer Trucking right here. He's on the interview table, and he's talking with folks about what's going on out there in the trucking industry. And Tim, again, thank you, sir. I want to get websites, social media, all that stuff.
It's great to be here, and I appreciate you having us on. We do have a lot of information out there for drivers and others out there. So, please go out there, look us up at CreteCarrierJobs.com, SchaeferJobs.com, HuntTransportationJobs.com. And then also, we do have coming, and look at it in the near future, we're relaunching our corporate website.
Cool.
Just the Crete Carrier site. And the main site should be launched here within the next 2 weeks or so. So go out there and look at that. And one thing that's also really exciting for us is this is our 50th anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
And we're really looking forward to that. The actual anniversary is in June. And, the great thing about being a part of the Crete Carrier organization is that we're still a family-owned company, been privately held, been owned by the same family since 1971.
Wow.
And it's just really, truly a great family organization that cares about its people, its drivers, its office people, its shops people, and has a lot of really long-term valuable customers as well. So it's just been a great ride, and we're looking forward to another 50 years.
Outstanding, yeah. And you mentioned June is going to be the anniversary date, so probably a lot of celebratory things coming up.
We are. We're trying to, go out and celebrate with our drivers and staff every month. We're doing a little bit
sure.
at each of the terminals.
One of the things I think a lot of folks talk about, we talk about the drivers and the importance of doing things right for them. Driver wellness is also a very big topic out there. Any thoughts concerning the sleep apnea discussion that's going on? I know the first phase of that is underway. They're looking at that and reviewing it. How big of a problem is that out there?
We saw it many years ago coming as a challenge for our drivers and their well-being. And so we started our own sleep apnea program well before there's anything in place, since there really isn't any true guidance in place. Certainly there's some other regulations that do cover this. And so back in about 2012, we put sleep labs in a few of our terminals and started doing some testing on our drivers. And we did find that about 25-26% of our drivers do have sleep apnea. And the good thing about it is when treated, it can
it's a lifesaver.
It's a lifesaver.
Yeah,
and there are
absolutely.
so many positive stories we've received from our drivers about, man, I didn't know that I had this, and I didn't know how bad I felt until after I was being treated, and how well I sleep now, and that I've lost weight, my blood pressure's gone down. So it does have a true impact. The challenge with that always is what's the best way and most effective way for the driver and the company to manage that. And so we've learned over the years, I think, on how to do that. As I mentioned, we have sleep labs right at our terminal, because part of the challenge is just the drivers getting scheduled for a sleep study.
Absolutely.
The practical aspects that go with that, and the cost. And so we know it's important enough that we cover the cost of that. We schedule them right in at our terminals as part of their either their orientation or as part of their route. We get them scheduled in there, and we can take care of that, where something that could have taken them maybe a week off the road, we can handle in a night and the next day in-house. And then we have coaching. We have a third-party company that helps coach them on their compliance and their treatment or otherwise, because it's not as easy as people say.
Absolutely.
Hey, go get a CPAP and you'll be fine.
Right.
There's some adjustment. There's some other things, and I think what we hope to do is learn from, as I mentioned, what we've done, and try to share some of that information with. The FMC is asking for information, so we'll share with them some of the things that we think work. But I'm hopeful that they provide a rule that's flexible enough that'll work for the whole industry, because everyone's a little different. There's different segments. There's LTL, truckload, other things.
Absolutely.
And how you manage it. We need some flexibility in doing that.
I know Mr. Scott Darling was in the building. He was at the Mid-America Truck Show talking to the drivers out there, and a lot of drivers gave him a lot of feedback. TTNews.com did an exclusive interview with him, and he was stating that he wants to get feedback. He wants to know what's going on out there in the trucking industry. That's got to be a big positive, right?
I
willingness to listen.
It is great. The FMCSA has a job to do. And we will like to cooperate with them and helping them and work together. Again, the more we can do together, that's mutually beneficial. The better the end result will be. It's just like I talked about with our drivers before. It's the same with that. And I did stop in, the public listen session, and I'll have to be honest with you, I was a little disappointed at how few people were there willing to comment.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And because the FMCSA has stepped up, they have asked for input.
Absolutely.
And this is our opportunity. So I do encourage the people that are at the show, I think they're still over there for a little while longer, to if you have some suggestions, some concerns, or otherwise,
step up.
Step up. They're investing their time, and I think they're here to truly listen.
Yeah.
And it's easy for us to sometimes complain away back in our own world. They've tried to come to our world and listen to us. So let's get out there and let's talk to them.
Outstanding. I appreciate you doing this, sir.
Sure.
One more time, any websites where they can find
Sure. It's creekcarrierjobs.com, SchaeferJobs.com, Hunt Transportation Jobs. And again, thank you for the opportunity to be on the show.
My pleasure.
It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give Mr. Tim Aschoff a nice round of applause. Please, if you will, with Crete and Schaefer.